feel like it was a build that for about 2 weeks got everybody all excited, and then it sort of faded away. But it's one of the more aggressive builds because it gives you a ton of continued pressure. Corpse Taker is hard to deal with. You've got the Stormwatcher at the top end to beat Priest, so you're brought the types of decks that beat that. So if you're expecting those control decks that are sort of slow, well, Mage beats that. Druid happens to beat that because they're extremely on the slow end. And the Rogue that's more aggressive and resilient and offers a package of Divine Shield, that's also extremely resilient. So suddenly, Fujitora finds himself sort of eating alive all the priests in the freeze. He is going for something similar, but he should have the edge with the Rogue also, I think, built to eat alive those decks. So Fuji's going to open up with the Jade Druid. Nothing too unconventional there against the Mage. So this is an Exodia Mage for carry, so at some point he gets buried under piles and piles of stats and he can't cope with them. So the window of opportunity that carry has to win involves, please don't have ramp, let me find my draw, and then I can kill you before you get any armor up.
Yeah, pretty much it. I mean, this is definitely going to be tough for carry to get a win in against the Druid. He was maybe hoping to get a Rogue right off the bat in this first matchup, but yeah, got the Druid instead, unfortunately. So yeah, Carry's game plan is obviously going to be draw as many cards as possible, as fast as possible, maybe stick an Antinite that goes uncontested.
Yeah, there's a bit of a glitch with Fujitora's hand at the top here. We can't quite see the wild growths being used up, but they are being used up, and he's currently sitting pretty at 5 mana. So he is able to use the Nourish if he wants to. He's going to opt the Mire Keeper and keep the ramp up. That's 3 ramp tools back to back already, starting on the turn with the coin. Yikes.
Yeah, so he's now at how much mana? Like he's gonna be at 7 next turn.
Now. Yeah, he's gonna be at 7 next turn, I think. He's doing very well for himself as a ramp druid. Let's just put it that way. Now the drawback to ramping up only is that you're not ramping up your jades. Usually you'd love to get jade blossoms as a tool. So when production resets, the hand will be able to know what he draws. For the time being, we're stuck on a snapshot of.
Alright, looks like Fujitora is kind of lacking to the end game for now. Yeah. So, yeah, no Ultimate Devastation, I assume. That's why he had to Nourish for card draw. Else he could have just ramped it for Ultimate Devastation.
And Carry's got Firelands Portal more than on curve, so this is the type of counter pressure play that can definitely help.
Yeah, not really the best of pressure minions, though.
Yeah.
Only to attack.
It's a stall, but that's it. Yikes. Uh-oh.
And the Jade army starts rolling.
Oh, come on! Not like this! That's a rough one. Carry can deal with the 4/7. He can just draw his secrets right now, too. That's another alternative, so he can actually thin them out of the deck to get the more crucial cards afterwards. Another consideration. And the thing is, going wide against Druid has never really been an issue. Not in this case, at the very least. Is he considering playing the Doomsayer just for a full reset? It seems a little bit ambitious, given that you have Frost Nova.
It doesn't even seem necessary right now, I think.
I agree.
Just hero powering phase could also be valuable.
I think to win this game you might have to, but he's going to choose to set up the Volcanic Potion instead. But I agree, maybe pinging face here is one of the ways in which you're able to beat the Jade deck. I mean, you have to go through 10 armor of Ultimate Infestation and 5 from Malfury and the Pestilence, so that's 15 baseline. And we haven't even accounted for some of the other potential cards that can net some armor gain if they're even present in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, basically just hero power. Every hero power also kind of hurts. Because unlike the burn mage, the freeze mage has only a limited amount of burn available to him. In the burn mage, it seems like the burn is just never ending.
Well, these are... Well, Frost Nova is not half as bad as some of the other options you could have gotten. At least it's not some Glacial Mysteries with Shatter shenanigan. He's not going to opt for it, though. He's going to try to get some board presence with Mirror Entity. Okay. I feel like the Frost Nova buys you more time than a single minion does in this matchup. But maybe the combined with the ping, it's worth a lot more. It's good with Aya Blackpaw at this stage of the game too. So. He is playing from behind.
Job done.
And he knows it.
Yeah, it's tough for us to say what the Druid's game plan is here.
Well, the game plan, like, he's probably stuck with swipes, right? Like, there might be a swipe and a Wrath in hand at the moment. Like, based on the fact that he's not playing anything, Spreading Plague, swipe, Wrath seems like a likely outcome. If he had Infestation, that would have been jammed already. There's no Aya Blackclaw. Otherwise, it would have probably been jammed as well. So we have to assume that most of his hand is consisting of situational removal and Jade generators that are, you know, middle of the pack, like these. There's a Jade Idol potentially at the top end as well.
Engaging TC-130.
Okay, so we've got the mind control tech in Fujitora's deck. Not particularly useful here, but it's one of those very useful tools against Mirror Match Jade or against aggro decks. So Fujitora has got some very nicely built decks here. I really like the deck list and the approach that he's taken to this tournament so far. Seems like the most solid, well-rounded lineup.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for Fujitora to actually deal with this, with Doomsayer in general. Druids in general have a hard time dealing with it, except for with damage. Usually a swipe in combination with the Wrath or Malfurion Hero Power helps out.
Does he ever consider just playing Aya Blackbuff for the 6/6 that comes back after she dies? Or is that a waste? Assuming he has it, of course, because we absolutely cannot see the hand. But in the event that he had it, would you just play it on this board?
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, 1/6/6 is not going to really accomplish much.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah, it does look like he has the Wrath and the swipe. I mean, even though you need to dedicate 2 cards for Doomsayer when there's a Doomsayer Freeze combination, it's still cards that Druid doesn't have to use in this matchup.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
It doesn't hurt that much. You have nothing else really to do with those.
Exactly. These are dedicated Doomsayer cards. So you're actually very comfortable keeping those in your hand forever until the Doomsayer comes out. I mean, sometimes you are tempted to just draw a card maybe with the Wrath in case you don't have good options, but yeah, it's much better to just keep it in hand.
And carry again. Didn't really get much done with the Mirror Entity. I mean, I have nothing against the Mirror Entity as an option, but I feel like Frost Nova was likely most useful earlier. Fujitora with the little emote BM.
Why does everyone consider emotes BM? That's what I'm wondering.
You gotta know the guy. Fuji is definitely trying to trigger carry here.
It doesn't seem to be like Carrie is a guy who's easily triggered. He looks so calm and peaceful.
Oh, he looks calm and peaceful until you mess with him too much.
It might not look like it on the camera, but Carrie is actually huge. Like
Oh no, he does. On the camera you can tell it. His head goes over the chair, which is pretty telling given the height of these chair backs. Well, this is definitely going to be useful. The problem is Fujitora's drawn a bunch of cards, one of which could be the second Infestation to pop the size block. There could also be, in the better world, a swipe for him so he can pop the ice block at 1 health. That would be much better than UIing this board. The alternatives are all bad, like Spreading Plague for 1 minion, hero power. I mean, you can tolerate it, but it doesn't feel particularly good. He probably has like 7 cards in hand at the moment. He was looking like he was sitting down at 0. Or like 2 cards for a while. Seems reasonable, but that does buy carry a full turn. Not that I anticipate he's going to be able to do much with 1 turn, but... This is exactly what we were talking about, right? Where Exodia Mage has some game, because it automatically wins once it gets its combo pieces
Right.
going, and the freeze can win. The freeze in this deck is just kind of meh.
Yeah, it's
It
just
doesn't do much.
It just doesn't deal enough damage. That's the problem. Against any other deck that doesn't heal or generate armor, sure, you have a pretty good matchup, but once you encounter those decks that heal or generate armor, you're pretty much screwed. It's very polar. These matchups with Priest Mage have always been and are still very polarizing.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, for Carry, at least he's gonna get a full turn to play Pyroblast, which is worth something. It's just that he's got absolutely no follow-up, and he recognizes it, scoops it with the Jade Druid. And as expected, Druid takes the game.
Yeah, but that was to be expected regardless, I think, in terms of matchup here. Carry, kind of his only hope is that the Rogue will stumble somehow.
Which could stumble. We've seen it stumble against, like, even if Carry's playing decks that are quote-unquote vulnerable to the Exodia Mage because they're control decks and gives them time. We have seen Quest Mage sort of fail itself the same way that Razaka's Priest sometimes just doesn't get the right cards at the right time.
That's
So
pretty much the nature of combo decks.
yeah.
Sometimes you just don't draw the combo and you lose because of that.
Yeah, so Carry's got a shot because the two remaining decks, I mean the remaining deck that is for Fuji is a combo deck. So if the Rogue doesn't find Keleseth blowouts, doesn't have the aggression to keep going, those are all possibilities that open up Carry for potential counterplay. But the opener is not looking strong for Carry. But Fuji also, you know, getting the aggressive double pirate opener. No South Sea Captain, unfortunately for him. Carry's going to be happy to see that.
Well, Carry finds plenty of ramp though. Wild Growth, Mire Keeper. Yeah, he can just
Go ahead.
actually ignore those 1 health minions for now and leave them on the board for the spreading plague. Like, I feel like Wild Growth and just going, maybe even going phase with the hero power could be a reasonable play.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point you're pretty much committed to recovering your health by getting additional minions on the board. In a way, it acts as healing. Fuji does have good counterplay, though, with the Vile Spine Slayer, with the Backstab Enabler. Oh, man.
Oh, here we go. Flappy Bird incoming.
Do you ever use Cold Blood here?
If you want to maximize the pressure, sure, but it's very vulnerable
To
to swipe.
Yeah.
So
The temptation is there just because if the opponent is setting up for Spreading Plague, which it looks like he's doing, then you can somewhat punish that. I kind of like that line of play.
you could even argue that it's not necessarily Spreading Plague he's setting up for. It could also be a swipe he's setting up for.
Sure.
So
You're forcing him to swipe, then you get to play your 5-drop into your eventual Bone Mare. Because if you play Cobalt Scalebane into Backstab Valspine on 6 into Bone Mare, that's still absolutely bonkers. So good recognition by Fuji here that he had the opportunity to use that Cold Blood without getting too harshly punished most of the time, even by swipe.
right, but these 1/5s are still going to be amazing at stabilizing here. Although I suppose
Valspine, yeah.
Backstab Valspine actually helps Fujitora get through with this Flappy Bird.
That's the problem, is that Fuji just mapped out all the lines of play, right? Against the potential setups. If it was a swipe setup, he had the follow-up. If it was a Spreading Plague setup, he had the ability to clear and develop tempo and buff the Flappy Bird. And no matter what happens, he's basically putting himself in a position where he gets that Bone Mare that he has in hand. He gets it to stick
Yeah,
and do what you need it to.
It's just so insane to have those threats like Cobalt Scalebane and Bone Mare against the Druid. Those are so hard to handle in general. Like, Bone Mare just applies immense amount of pressure, and it's pretty hard to handle all the stats as a Druid. Because Druid only can pretty much handle boards with damage spells.
Yep.
So stats are inherently better.
Well, the upside of Spreading Plague, too, is that it softens up the board for swipes very often. The problem is if there's no swipe, then you're not softening up anything. So if Carry's just getting 1/5s, it doesn't do enough. He has to have the swipes to go with it to really maximize the value of these 1 points of damage here and there. So So Carey has one turn to get to that Coon Ultimate Infestation. And he can generate some board state. That's good.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
alright.
really good. Well, given the state he's in,
Yeah, but the problem is now he cannot Coon and Ultimate Devastation.
he can next turn, can't he? Oh, he refreshes the crystals, you're correct.
Yeah, he refreshes 9 crystals.
It is not sufficient.
So he can do either or.
I think you're going for the UI. Most of the time, hope for the second one, maybe get that Coon on 10 afterwards. Because you need the armor, I think, primarily at this point. I mean, there's a comeback potential there. Oh,
Oh,
that is rough.
that was definitely rough. He needed the buff to go on something else, but even then, Argent Commander or Bone Mare number 2 was still good enough.
So does Carey have any type of surprising innervate play that we just aren't thinking of? No one runs innervate as far as I can tell, so doesn't look likely, and he is in fact going to fall down to the next Bone Mare or the Ardent Commander. Carey getting absolutely blown out.
Yeah, much like Fluffy did. Seems like Fujitora's lineup has worked quite well so far. And continues to do so. And now the weak link, quote unquote, from Fujitora is safe. He managed to get a win over the Druid.
So is the Exodia Mage the weakest link? Because that's the question. Is if Carey was gonna win this, it was more likely to be that the Quest Mage failed 3 times. From Carey has a chance.
Yeah.
As they're both on the burn plan. So
Oh, Carey is going to go for the Druid first. Seems to be the matchup where he can just pressure the best. Just go for a Jade curve and yeah.
hope for the Jades to stick and get them to just win you the game. Spreading Plague, not the card you want to see in your opening hand against that deck. Usually not a card you have any use for. No ramp. So unlike Fujitora's previous Druid match here, there are no wild growths. So Carey is just going to play this super slowly. Not much he can do about this. And this is kind of the matchup where you're looking to just get that Jade. You're looking for your mana to ramp up as fast as your Jades are. More so than any other matchup, I think. Because this mage just kills you from infinite health. Well, I haven't done the math on the time you have to cast fireballs, but no amount of armor will save you.
An incredible discovery.
Fujitora getting even a better board control than the Druid is. Oh, man.
Yeah, rough start for Carey. No acceleration whatsoever. Has to nourish, but it's like he can nourish into Lich King, but it's going to be too late.
Well, at least he picks up the wild growth for the Jade Behemoth follow-up. For what it's worth, it can at least do something. The upside is that he can then maybe fill up a turn with Nourish and then get the Lich King down. Those are pretty high-pressure cards, so
Yeah.
the Lich King especially is a high-pressure card against that deck. They
Yeah.
don't tend to run too many answers.
Exactly, like typically Freeze Mage, as we've seen before, can do it. They can just Fireball plus something, but Fujitora, like the Quest Mage, doesn't even play Fireballs in the deck. And why
Yeah.
would it, right? Like you get plenty of Fireballs from Antonidas with the combo.
Yeah, just wait. Yeah, so the Lich King is one of those cards that you don't see in every deck, but when it shows up against Quest Mage, the Quest Mage is just not happy to see it. And Fuji knows full well that there are some problems with taking too much of your time here. So it matters that you don't Cold Light early so that they don't get ramp early. Now at turn 7, when they have 7 mana-ish, it almost, well, it's not inconsequential, but it's more inconsequential than otherwise. And so then you can play Cold Light in the later stages of the game as the mage and be reasonably happy about it, because it acts as an Arcane Intellect. Either way, you're about to get buried under value, so the ramp is no longer essential.
Alright, 3 combo pieces in hand already. However, he still needs to enable that quest somehow.
Carey needs to keep that board alive as long as he can, so
Your magic shall
No way this is going to be allowed to live. And that's a rough board. Fuji has another Doomsayer. He's got the Blizzard to buy himself one turn, possibly plays a single Flame Strike to wipe this whole thing off. Double Cold Light. I've seen a lot of singles.
You want to cast a spell? I want to cast a spell.
So currently only sitting on one Flame Geyser as a random generated card.
Yeah. And he still has Primordial Glyph, so that's another one. But yeah, I was just thinking about whether Fujitora actually does want to play the Frost Nova here. The board, as threatening as it seems, it actually doesn't really do much, even with the potential Mark of the Lotus.
I agree. It doesn't.
So
it doesn't kill your ice block, and so you're probably fine.
Yeah,
In a way.
he probably could have saved himself one more turn. Because the board is only going to get bigger from here on out, and therefore the freeze is going to be even more valuable.
Honestly, Fuji is playing extremely quickly, right? Like, we just have to recognize that. He is playing extremely fast.
Well, yeah, he wants to
This
get this
made
over. He wants to get this over with quickly.
Faster you play your cards, the faster the opponent dies to fireballs.
The faster you play your cards, the the less Hearthstone you have to play. Fuji doesn't enjoy Hearthstone as much as he used to, I think.
He did mention that, I believe.
Yeah.
So Carry here with the Fandral after the Jade Idol, recognizing that he's not looking for more Jades necessarily, or Jade Idol specifically. He'd rather get the higher pressure that he can in form of burn spells. So Ultimate Infestation helps close out games. That's a Babbling Book number 2, another spell coming up. Oh wow,
Hands of
okay.
Mortal Refraction.
That's going to be useful later on. That's going to be bonkers later on, in fact. Emptying the hand a little bit here. Got to make some room. He's got the double Apprentice, double Molten, Kabbalah Stone, play everything, win game plan, but he needs the Archmage to get everything online.
Golems are a girl's best friend.
Yeah, still has a little bit of time though. Does have second Ice Block in hand, and Druid obviously cannot interact with that.
He's got about 2 turns. Oh, that's a good card. His card draw right on time. He's played double Cold Light. The first Arcane Intellect could pick up a second one. Has the Archmage.
This looks like yet another 3-0 for Fujitora.
I mean, there's nothing Carry can really do about this. Gotta make room for some cards here, man. You gotta make room for those Apprentices. And he does just that. And it looks like Fuji is ready to pull the trigger next turn if things go well. If the Kabbalah Stone doesn't completely whiff, and it could.
Yeah, with 5 Sorcerer's Apprentices, it's going to be even less likely that it whiffs.
I mean, have you ever triple Glacial Mysteried?
Oh boy.
What a joke, but it's not funny when it happens. Oh, he's got Apprentices for days, man. He's got all the Apprentices.
I don't think he wants the 6th one though. It would kind of deny the Antonidas.
What if he just goes for the BM and messes it up? He can always just trade one away afterwards, right? After getting the full quest completion. This is completely absurd. And the tome comes out, and that is not the Triple Glacial Mysteries. Carry sort of looking the other way.
Yeah, he sees the writing on the wall.
His
His only hope now is that Antonidas is not in hand.
He has to go through the motions. Maybe it's not there. The opponent doesn't have the other eyes block. Right? Sometimes it happens. The opponent just doesn't have the block, and they don't have the Antonidas, but they have to Hail Mary because they're at 1 health, and you just pop them. This is not one of these cases. And Fuji is going to save everyone sometime and remove 1 armor to prevent a fireball cast time. And boom! Down goes Carry. Man, that Fuji lineup.